Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm filming a general collective reading rather than a pick a card. I'm in a very deep healing vibration today, and I'm really, in a quiet, calm way, very excited to channel from this place, from this state, from this vibration. So I really wanted to bring some messages through and not have the restriction of a particular topic on them. So what does the collective need from us today, Spirit? What do you have for the collective today, Spirit? Rainbow, the most difficult part of a situation is over. That's a great place to start from. Great theme to start from. Now that that is out of the tea leaves, they're having me move on to the Unfolding Path Tarot. Here's what that deck looks like if you aren't familiar. We have this card coming out immediately. Four of Swords reversed. You are in a moment of resting after a storm, restoring after a storm. King of Swords reversed. Interesting. King of Swords reversed. Four of Swords reversed. Rainbow. Hierophant. This has come out in every reading I've done for I think the last 5 or 6 readings, maybe even 7. We are very connected to spirit in this collective, and I think some of you are making a transition potentially from student to teacher in some aspect of your life, especially if you do work with spirit, becoming a bit more of stepping a bit more into a mentor role that you already have, potentially. Six of Swords. You've really left something behind with this Four of Swords rest period after a storm with the rainbow. You've really left something behind that was troubling you a great deal. With the Hierophant, for some of you, this is very much something emotional, psychological, or spiritual, some sort of belief pattern or paradigm. And by bringing deep healing to that, with the Four of Swords reversed, it's that energy of meditation and rest directed inward. So by bringing deep healing inward, really going into that shadow state, the meditative state, you've been able to, I'm looking at the dog in this reading, and it's like you've been able to rescue yourself, rescue the puppy, and leave troubled waters behind. Creating order from disorder is what I'm hearing. Creating order from disorder. Yeah, there's something about the distillation of the rainbow too, the way light passes through a prism and is organized into the layers of the rainbow, bringing order to disorder, distilling the truths, the lessons, the learnings, the healings from the difficult situation. Yes, very difficult situation with the Ten of Swords there. It's honestly a hard card to look at. So many swords elements here. Okay. I'm being told to say a part of you has died, and you're this Four of Swords inwardly directed meditative state, and this leaving behind shows you, reveals and illuminates you paying respects to that part of yourself, having this moment, this day of reverence, as you lay that part of you to rest with the Four of Swords. And with the Hierophant, it's like you are playing the role internally of the spiritual escort of this part of you as it crosses the veil into the light, as it transmutes or is transmuted from the cloud into the rainbow, crossing the rainbow bridge as well. Yes, some of you may resonate more with a chapter of your life being closed and a piece of your story having passed and you being reborn from it, but the core vibration of this reading for this group really is a part of you has died. A part of you is no longer, and you have the appropriate reverence for that and the appropriate understanding of the purpose it served, why you used to behave that way, why you used to cope in that way, why you used to defend yourself in that way. I just heard self-hatred, so especially, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense with the Ten of Swords energy, because that can reflect the result of a lot of thoughts being turned against yourself. And you have the appropriate respect and reverence for the place that had in your life, the ways in which it was useful, when it was useful, the purpose it served. And so you're able to lay it to rest in this very peaceful, devout or devoted, like the Six of Swords here, in this very peaceful way. There's another word on the tip of my tongue. With awe, almost, this hushed reverence. There's a respect for the healing that is allowed to take place by this part of you stepping aside, stepping down from the role they used to hold, and allowing the energy that made them up to be withdrawn from them and channeled into a different purpose that is what you need now. At one point, I'm being told that some of you need to hear this, that some of you need a reminder that at one point in your life, that self-hatred, those anxious thoughts, whatever that type of self-harming behavior was that may have become the bane of your existence before this moment of laying it to rest, did actually save you. That's why it was there. There was some sort of circumstance, some pain, some great pain that way of responding, reacting, or coping actually saved you from. For example, if it was a lot of times self-harming thoughts are there because we have been hurt by someone else's judgment, rejection, or abandonment, and it's so painful to not be able to predict how someone else might respond or not respond and ignore and abandon, that it does feel like a saving grace in a moment like that to take control of the pain by inflicting it on yourself at a time when you don't have the ability to remove yourself from the unpredictable influences. You took some measure of control over it and made it more bearable for you. And I was just told that some of you needed to hear that, to just bring a sense of closure to really understanding why that part of you was there and doing what it was doing in the first place. I'm being drawn to look more closely at the King of Swords card now. I see. We have this bird reminds me both of a crow and a raven, and also of a vulture. And the vulture does represent that energy of the energy from this part of you that has passed on, being withdrawn, transmuted, and put towards a new purpose. The vultures are scavengers. They are nature's recyclers in many ways, like so many other beings are. In terms of this bird also resembling a raven, though, this King of Swords is really strongly evoking the energy of the god Odin to me. this very father-like, paternal, and extremely knowledgeable and devoted to knowledge energy. Very wise old man energy. And the facial expression and the poise and posture of this particular King of Swords for me is giving me the energy, at least in how it's coming through today, of someone who could be described as a peaceful warrior. That's a phrase I'm hearing. Very difficult to ruffle, affable on average, difficult for the average person to read, and you don't mess with him. If you do mess with him, then that facial expression that's on the card and the sword come out. And what I'm being told is that represents two things so far that are coming through. There could come through more as well. It represents your spiritual protectors, your spirit guides, and the parts of yourself that are very maternal or paternal, very parental and protective, or older sibling-like and protective, watching over the rest of you, or your spirit guides watching over you, period, while you stay in this healing stasis, this healing restoration and recovery with the Rainbow and the Four of Swords. And also that this self-protection and healthy vigilance, this alertness without being hyper alert and on red alert all the time, also represents one of the ways that the energy that was being used towards or funneled into a self-destructive, maladaptive version of self-protective is now preparing to be channeled. You are becoming the queen or king or ruler, general, commander-in-chief, enforcer of your own boundaries. And your spirit guides are helping you with that, but they're also kind of applauding and bowing and making way, like rolling out the red carpet for you, because there are so many ways in which you now no longer need them to take over, because you are perfectly willing to cut something off, head something off at the pass. And the inscrutability of this King of Swords also represents those boundaries, because there is healthy privacy. Authenticity involves healthy privacy and boundaries in terms of who you choose to share, whom you choose to share what with. Being a very open book in some situations and about some subjects, and being inscrutable and unreadable in other situations with other people and about other topics. And being able to flow with sometimes ease, but if not ease, nonetheless grace and poise and self-assurance between different levels of openness according to what you sense from a situation. And it's like you have one of Odin's ravens whispering in your ear with this posture here, making it very easy with your connection to spirit and your connection to your inner self for you to navigate when to open what doors and when to close what doors. I'm being drawn to another deck. Which one, Spirit? Okay, the Spirit Song Tarot. I haven't pulled from that one in a little while. This will be fun. Spirit, what else do you have for this collective today? What else do we need to bring through? There's a sense of completion and harmony, and this deep humming resonance of this deep internal healing and peace and contentment. Contentment even might be too, like, bright and shiny and strong of a word. Just a very pure, unadulterated state of peace. strength, courage, and endurance. Yes, the elephant really represents that version of peace and grounded harmony very well. Very, very well. I wonder, this probably doesn't fit this way. Let me just check if it does. It might. It might actually fit. Bear with me a sec here. Strength, the Hierophant, and the rainbow are the center of the reading today. Courage and endurance. You have shown great bravery, courage, and endurance in getting to this point. It's not easy to weather the storm, to choose. Actually, what I'm getting with the Six of Swords is that you chose to go into the storm, to feel the suppressed emotions so that they could be unsuppressed, to rescue the parts of you, the wounded parts of you that are at the core of those emotions, to hear what they had to say and to bring healing to them, bring rescue to them, bring medicine to them. You chose to go into the eye of the storm. Many people, I would argue at this point in time, most people, the majority of people, spend their entire lives running from that exact storm. We've all been through some stuff. We all have those, ghosts or demons or whatever you want to call them, those things that feel haunted, those doors or wings within the mind palace that people spend their whole lives just not touching. And you actually chose to open them. You chose to not only open them, but open them with grace and compassion, with a healer's touch. This is a very channeled message, by the way. With a healer's touch. And to let the light in, to bring the light in, to be, you embodied the light and brought it in inside your own metaphorical, literal body to these parts that have been encrusted and encased in darkness for many years. It's like the cutting away with all these swords elements of that darkness was very compassionate, very non-violent. The cleaning of a wound, it isn't painless, but it can be extremely compassionate. It requires a firm touch, but also when it's done well, it is done with a loving touch. Understanding I can't make this not painful for you, but I can also add an element of love and healing and really caring about you and bringing your best interests to heart, and holding you in this space, holding space for you. You can bring that to the process. 5 of Cups, 5 of Shells, hope and readjustment. There's a very tentative new beginning emerging from the shell of this darkness. Tentative yet very strong. The rainbow appears delicate, but light is also relatively indestructible. And we have this light bulb firefly glow on this firefly's tail. The firefly itself may have a very short lifespan, just like this transitional phase of your life might, but the light itself simply changes forms. It never dies or goes away. I'm hearing the Amanda Palmer song, Lost. Nothing's ever lost forever. I might try to remember to link it below. The original chorus goes, nothing's ever lost forever, it's just caught between the cushions of your couch, and when you find it, you'll listen. Not just such a nice surprise. Nothing's ever lost forever, it's just hiding in the recess of your mind, and when you need it, it will come to you at night. And then the second version of the chorus goes, no one's ever lost forever. When they die, they go away, but they will visit you occasionally. Do not be afraid. No one's ever lost forever. They are caught inside your heart. And if you water them and garden them, they make you what you are. And so I'm actually receiving this, hearing this as a message from the part of yourself that you just laid to rest. I think there really is this overarching energy of peace here, yet You may potentially also be feeling an element of grief or concern. And regardless of how much you are feeling any of the emotions you might be feeling about this process, this part, the energy from this part of you, the consciousness from this part of you is coming through to, in this very innocent, like childlike, wise way, to assure and reassure you that you didn't harm yourself by laying them to rest. Quite the opposite. You created the opportunity and the venue for a depth of healing that they're confirming what we already said, that many people simply never achieve or reach. And that part of you, its essence, has not died or been lost or passed on at all. Its essence had been warped into something. Help me with the words for this, please, Spirit. The energy and consciousness of that part of you had been warped away from its essence, from a form that really truly expressed your essence and its essence. And this part of you is coming through with such joy, tearful joy, but also very innocent and pure and happy joy at getting to be repurposed, at getting to have a new birth and a new life and a new chance. The energy coming through is actually very much, and this may be just metaphorical or maybe very literal for some of you, the energy coming through from this specific part of you is very much the energy of someone who is, of an addict who feels they're getting a second lease on life, as they recover and experience a whole new world of living clean and sober. Well, I actually heard the phrase straight edge just now. That's not even my own word at the moment. Yeah, this new hope. And so there's a moment of it feeling tentative as you're in this readjustment phase of where the energy, it's a liminal space. The energy is on the threshold between the old room that is actually being transmuted into a completely different chamber of the inner palace, and this energy is on the cusp of being brought out into the light, into the open ocean, into an open field or meadow to frolic and play like the fireflies. There's deep, immense power in this moment of transition, because it is a moment of being very close to the veil, on the threshold of both worlds, in between, crossing over from one to another. And there's so much raw potential energy type power in that, and it's something to bask in and soak in and revel in, and just take a moment of awe, potentially even bliss, to experience it. Like that moment of, I'm seeing the rainbow in the clouds, and I know the rainbow is a fleeting, ephemeral phenomenon, and I'm pausing, and it's taking my breath away to just behold it and experience it and be alive at the same moment that this phenomenon is. To be alive to experience this is in itself something to be tremendously grateful for. And I do always feel a little bit guilty when my spiritual guidance is saying, like, no, don't wait, do a reading at this time when this lighting is doing this thing that makes the cards a little bit harder to see. But sometimes, like with this reading, there is a synchronicity and a message there of that being on the threshold between the light and the dark, and the way that we alchemize the two and utilize them elementally to weave our lives, to unfold our lives. Justice. I'm not shocked this came through because I know the Justice card in this deck is the Crow, and so when we had the Corvid or Vulture in the King of Swords card from the Unfolding Path Tarot, I'm not shocked this card came through. The 11th Major Arcana, and we had the 5th Major Arcana with the Hierophant. We have a 4, 5, 6 here, the 4 of Swords, the 5th Major Arcana, and then the 6 of Swords. Interesting. Truth and clarity, justice. You're doing yourself justice. It would have been doing your ultimate highest and best good and timeline potentials a disservice to stay stagnant and preserve the status quo. It also would have been doing this same part of you that has been passed over a disservice because they were wounded like the 10 of Swords figure. And so to allow them to stay in pain would have been a tremendous injustice. And so you have been very brave, and your bravery has paid off tremendously. And with the King of Swords reversed and the Justice reversed, what is this? There's no energy whatsoever of an obstruction of clarity, but there is a direction inward of the clarity you're becoming. Yeah, and there's this transitional phase that you're in where with the level of peace in this energy, you may very well not be struggling with this at all, but at the moment you are very in the moment and not necessarily seeing ahead, and there's just a reassurance here that you're not meant to, that you're in this moment of the clarity is forming, the reality is coalescing as you convalesce, and as it comes together it will become clear, and you are knowing yourself so much more deeply now, and your spirit guides are saying you are in a moment right now where you actually have no idea how much more deeply you know yourself now as a result of the brave work that you have done and the storms you have endured and weathered. And you're going to, they're really pumped, they're saying, for you to find out, because you're going to see very clearly how this affects you as you make choices and decisions over the coming weeks, as you interact with your own self and are able to do yourself much more justice in how you treat yourself on a day-to-day basis, with a lot more compassion as well as clarity, at really understanding yourself. And the shifts from the transmutation of that self-destructive, self-harming energy into avenues that really build you up for that energy to be used instead is incredible. And your spirit guides are asking you to kind of like, with the King of Swords and the Justice here, as you come out of this phase where you're not meant to see ahead, keep your eyes open, pay attention, like don't miss how incredible the transformation from what you have just done is. Because it's remarkable and rare, they're saying, and will affect your life in beautiful, beautiful ways that they don't want you to miss, not in the sense that you'd be able to miss them, like you're living your life right, but they don't want you to miss in the sense of really appreciating, like, oh wow, this is because of or correlated to this thing I just did. I did that. I created this change. I'm reacting differently than I used to. I've grown. I've transmuted and rebirthed. I've phoenixed. We were talking about that threshold, liminal space between the light and the dark, and the Justice always has some form of scales or balance in the imagery on that card. And I'm getting the feeling and the imagery of an infinity symbol, the yin and the yang, feeding into each other in an endless loop. And again, that sense of alchemy where you every time you practice this courage of going into the storm where someone else might potentially turn away, every time you practice this emotional presence, compassion, and bravery, and this commitment to truth and clarity, to self-love in the form of self-loving shadow work, you become more and more of a master of that alchemy of like light and dark, the ability to bring light into the shadow, as Carl Jung always said. And there's a quote specifically from Carl Jung about how you don't create light by imagining figures of light. You do that by bringing the light into the darkness. And that's exactly what I was being shown you embodying. It's not even just you are like the firefly here, where the light is part of your body. It's not even just you shining a flashlight or carrying a candle into the dark rooms. You are the light. And you not being afraid to embody it and to feel it in your being, in your flesh, and in your soul is powerful beyond words, beyond your wildest imaginings and your wildest dreams. You do so much for yourself and for every single person who ever even remotely breathes the same air as you by embodying that light so fearlessly, is what your spirit guides are saying. I'm being drawn to the Shadowscapes Tarot next. Very fitting for this topic. The Fool in reverse. Yeah, new beginning within here, in how this really is a rebirth in every sense of the word. And with all the white doves here, the peace that it is bringing you is tremendous. I don't think I've ever used the word tremendous so many times in even one day before, much less one half hour or one reading. And with these peaceful doves, in this image, they appear to be unwinding these ribbons from this figure, setting this figure free so that they too can fly. You could almost, I'm being given a vision actually of this human being, once the ribbons are all unwound and unbound, transforming into a dove themselves and flying away. Like the butterfly here emerging from the cocoon, and we have this tiny little heart glowing below their feet. I wonder, I'm making my camera do gymnastics here. We have this flower, the rose growing from the concrete as well, and these stone hands. They might not be stone, they could be living creatures, who am I to say? But these hands holding space. Part of why I like them as stone here is because they're holding this very, very solid but gentle space for this delicate rose, for this delicate butterfly, for this delicate heart, and for the bees as well, doing their sacred and important work. And that is similar to the King of Swords energy that we were talking about before, with that very grounded, poised, self-assured stance, protecting your heart, really, your being. And you having held that ironclad space for yourself and getting even stronger at doing so as you transmute your maladaptive attempts to protect yourself that were self-destructive into self-nourishment and self-love. I just heard love is the ultimate transmuter, which is very true. Yeah, they're pointing out again how you held that space and created that transmutation by loving. It wasn't by forcing. It was by holding this extremely gentle space, by allowing the unknown to unfold instead of trying to project an idea of what should be on reality. You were very present with what is within yourself, and it allowed what is within yourself to unfold and open before you, and open this very wounded part of you that you would have been very protective of. It would have been kept very closed off or armored in order to protect it, is what I'm trying to say. And your loving energy and compassion created such an ironclad, stoneclad, safe space that even that most vulnerable part of you was able to be opened to your light and to your awareness and to most of all your love, which was able to heal it by transforming it / transform it by healing it, to set it free, to liberate it. And that's, I think, why I was guided to place the Fool next to the Ten of Swords, because that's what this full reversed energy is this very innocent part of you being set free by your presence healing it from the agonized, just anguished state it was in before. You've done something incredible here. You have done something truly incredible here and really liberated yourself on a deep level in a big way. And I'm being drawn to the Astara Tarot. I haven't used this one any longer, I think, than I've used the Spirit Song Tarot. This one's a little bit more tricky for me to get out of the box. Hang on. The box is lovely, but that's what the box looks like, in case you are curious to get the deck for yourself. It's lovely, it's just a little bit challenging to get the deck out of it. Not as fast as I am with some of the others. The Page of Pentacles. This is fascinating. I need more information, Spirit. This is definitely going along with the new beginning and the grounded energy, but there's this element to this angle on this figure and their facial expression of there being a little bit of shock and fear on their face, but it's also the vision I'm being given is of that shock and fear rapidly transforming into joy. So it's like the little period of readjustment that we were talking about with the Five of Cups and Justice and King of Swords reversed, especially Justice reversed. It's like they've been focused. The vision I'm getting is that this figure has been focused on the ground, on their animal companions, and then suddenly it's like a crack of lightning or thunder happens and they look up and they're shocked and a little scared at this disturbance, but then they see the rainbow or the sun dawning after the darkest night or the darkest storm, and the fear transforms into joy. Okay, I'm being told that while that does reflect this transitional period you're in right now, even more than that, this reflects the shift that you're undergoing in your attitude and your reaction to your own light, your own self, your own essence and power, where the self-destruction was happening to keep those aspects of you, those expansive solar aspects of you, locked away to a certain extent to try to protect you. And now your attitude towards those aspects of you is shifting from fear to joy. Hence you being able more and more to embody them, bringing that light into your being, as we were talking about, with you going into the darkness, not even needing a candle because you're glowing. The light within you is the light that is needed in the emotional darkness. 8 of Wands. Interesting. I should make sure that's the 8 of Wands. Once in a while with this deck I get a little bit confused because the imagery is a little bit metaphorical for me. I'm being guided to actually place this over the 10 of Swords. And let me just double check the guidebook and make sure that's the 8 of Wands. If so, I am surprised, but also delighted. Yes, it is the Eight of Wands. And since I'm here anyway, let's go ahead and read this deck's description. Keywords: speed, action, movement, and swift change. 8 green-leafed wands emerge from the heart of a peregrine falcon. The Eight of Wands signifies freedom and space. You are unburdened by previous challenges and are full of energy for your activities. This card is all about speed. You can expect to be very busy and efficient, and this will be a pleasant feeling as you are enthusiastic and making progress toward your goals. Yes. This is the energy that is replacing the Ten of Swords energy as you come out of the liminal space and into the, I'm hearing elevated reality, new evolution, the elevated reality, the exalted form, yes, the exalted form of the energy that has been transmuted from its warped form to its exalted form is this funneling into this unburdened freedom, like the Fool being unbound, that allows you to soar. Instead of that energy being used to cage yourself and to pretend that it's possible to dim your light, it's being used to set your light free. And especially this description characterizing these wands as green-leafed is especially apt because this is a spring phase. This is new growth where the autumn and winter have withered away the old and pruned space for the new. New things are coming alive. And we were talking about that with the vulture as well, which is very fitting given that it's a little bit gruesome to have this new growth coming from the heart of a bird. But there is an embrace of the fertilizing that happens from death being a recycling, a transmuting. Om Namah Shivaya. I just felt very called to say that. I use that mantra a lot in my daily life. I use it whenever I see any form of death, whether it's that I myself killed a bug or whether it's that I'm seeing roadkill. I say Om Namah Shivaya a lot, many times a day, because I drive around a lot, so I see a lot of that. And I don't usually share that much about myself in these readings, but I just felt very strongly moved to say Om Namah Shivaya in praise of that energy of death and transmutation, and in reverence for it. And I wanted to explain why that's something that I say so automatically and wholeheartedly. And this is very, very connected to the justice as well, because this is justice for you to experience this elevation and exaltation of what was crushed and disallowed. And there's another word, but I'm blanking on it. Crushed and disallowed before, what was repressed really before. You're getting to experience that being elevated and exalted now, and that is a form of justice. It would have been an injustice for you to go your whole life never experiencing that. And don't try to project and predict what that's going to look like for you. Some people that's going to look like taking center stage, and other people that's not necessarily going to cause them to stop being behind the scenes, because that may not be what they want in life, to be center stage and in the spotlight. But that doesn't mean there aren't just as deep and radiant ways that this allows them to express themselves, just because it doesn't mean they're going to suddenly love the spotlight, right? It's going to look different for different people, and this energy of like, you're not supposed to know. How could you know? You've never experienced this before, is very important to give yourself that permission to be surprised by yourself. It's important to give yourself permission to show up in a way that you actually don't expect and anticipate. Because what is actually the optimal way for you, for your own sake, for you to show up, for your own highest and best good, for you to show up, may actually not be what you expect or what you would assume it would be if you were asked to predict it. So give room for, as Mary Oliver said, keep room in your heart for the unimaginable. Give space, give room, leave room for the unforeseen, and for your heart to unfold and expand and take up more space. At the same time as it being unknown, there is, with the elephant at the core of the reading, a deep remembering that is happening. You remembering a soul essence that feels like it has been under concrete, that inaccessible to you. A depth of love and an unconditionality of love that has felt like it was inaccessible to you behind this seemingly stone wall of self-hatred. If that, it feels like for everyone here, it's some form of that hatred and self-destruction that has been transmuted and laid to rest now. And so a remembering of an unconditionality of love that has been waiting in the wings behind that to be discovered, and also a remembrance of who you are, your soul essence, your natural vibration, what you came here to do, what you came here to be and embody, your light that you can now embody more fully and more effortlessly and allow to permeate you on deeper layers, as well as radiate out to greater heights. And your unique soul vibration, fingerprint, essence, the way that everything you touch turns to gold in a different way than it would if someone else did. Maybe for someone else it turns to gold, and for you it turns to platinum, and for someone else it turns to silver. That's just a metaphor, but that type of unlocking of your core self and how you show up as you in every situation, no matter what version of yourself you are presenting and portraying, it still carries some je ne sais quoi of you. Very ineffable. And that is your strength. That's what no one could ever possibly replace about you. Someone else can do something, can do the same thing that you do, but they can't do it the way you do, and therefore it's a different thing. They can't do it with the flair that you give it. They can't do it with the... I'm seeing someone dancing, so I almost want to say choreography. Like, someone else can dance just as well as you do, but it's a different choreography. It's a different flair. It's a different style, a different swish, different outfits, costumes, different movements of the hands and different facial expressions, different footwork. And it might be the same song on the same beat, the same tempo, and yet everything else is different because it's someone else's expression. I'm feeling the energy of the reading winding down. Spirit, do you want to bring through more cards? Yes, that is a hell yes. We're going to the Light Seers Tarot now. But I am feeling the energy of the reading wind down, but I'm not sure how many more messages they're going to bring through nonetheless. Let's find out. Knight of Pentacles. This rapid transformation that you are undergoing as a result of this restoration, recovery, deep meditation period, deep healing period, is leading to a sustainable, slow and steady movement forward toward a mission, towards goals that is very fruitful as well as sustainable. And you're going to be able to stay grounded in your essence, in your connection to what matters to you, your connection to the earth, your connection to the web of life and to all that is, the universe, your spiritual guidance source, your light, the light of the world and the universe. With this bare feet here, you're going to be able to stay connected. That's part of why this is so sustainable. These pentacles, the fruits that your efforts bear, are all going to be expressions of this unique light that you carry and infuse into everything you do. I'm seeing someone like making a cup of tea and infusing their light into it. And you could be a barista who infuses that healing energy into every cup that you serve. But that's also a metaphor for your life, the words you speak to others, the way you interact with and treat others. Each interaction, whether it's a service or just a hi, how are you, becoming this unique expression of your light. And with the festive adornments on the shield and the horse, the sustainability of this new path forward is allowing you to exalt yourself and celebrate yourself, to adorn yourself, knowing that the special occasion is life. Instead of you being downtrodden and debased like we've talked about before, you wake up in the morning every day knowing like you deserve to be adorned, and it's not about deserving it. You simply are. Like, you simply, everyone has this source light, this reverence, this innate being that is worthy of that reverence. So it's not about earning, proving, deserving. It's about accessing. That way has been cleared for you to access this, and you get to celebrate that with every step forward, with every day of your life, if you so choose. If you, like the elephant, remember. And it is worthy and meriting of celebration. It's like, deck yourself out the way you want to be, because you do deserve that, without proving and without earning. I'm actually being drawn back to the Spirit Song Tarot. My hands just went there without me realizing I was doing it. Two of Pentacles, Two of Crystals, balance and adaptability. I was talking about the new reality coalescing, right? I'm getting this sense with the Two of Pentacles, like a seed growing towards germination, an effort multiplying, an investment yielding dividends. This, like, slowly but surely the seed grows into the plant. Slowly but surely the infant grows in the womb. Slowly but surely your efforts will nourish the seeds in the soil, will nourish the soil so that the soil can nourish the seeds, nourish yourself so that you are fertile ground for your own ideas and efforts and investments. And that is going to become the springboard for the kangaroo of your future. It's this slow unfurling and blossoming, and you don't necessarily know what the plants are yet. You don't necessarily know what's going to bloom from your garden yet, and that's okay. That's where that adaptability comes in. And that Two of Pentacles does have a similar balance to the Justice card there. But the balance that I'm getting here is like the balance of the Knight of Pentacles, what makes it sustainable. If you were hopping on one foot the whole way, the path might not be as tenable and sustainable for you. But having a balanced gait, pushing off equally from both feet, I'm getting that infinity symbol in yin yang, having a balanced and aligned flow between yin and yang energies in your life, between the rest and restoration and meditative states and inward focus of the Four of Swords reversed, and the rapid transformation of the Eight of Wands, and the Page and Knight, and even the Fool, allows you to springboard like the kangaroo and the Fool, but in this sustainable way with longevity like the Knight of Pentacles. The rainbow reaches far. Light travels until something obstructs its path and deflects it or absorbs it, right? Like, light doesn't stop. Back to that indestructibility of light that we talked about before. And in what is lighting you up, you can travel to, you can't, like, not just travel far, you can travel to infinity and beyond. You can travel so far beyond what you might imagine human limitations would allow. That's what I'm getting, like, your efforts are going to stretch so far beyond the scope that you would possibly imagine, and that's part of why it's so important for you to allow yourself to bloom and unfold without restriction or projection being placed upon it. You're not trying to mold yourself to something that already is. You're waiting to find out what you will become, knowing it might be something no one has ever seen before. And there is a lot of power in that. Anything else, Spirit? That is the note they want to end on. So thank you so much for being here. It has been an honor to read for you today. I'm so glad you're here. If you feel any pull towards a personal reading, feel free to book using the link in the description in my bio, and I'll see you in the next reading.